I'm Bea.
And I'm Sam.
And we're two best friends who like to talk shit about smut, wingspan,
And sometimes books.
Join us every Wednesday for a new episode.
Welcome to A Few Inches More.
Yeah, so these are our little minisode episodes, I guess, our bonus content that we're just putting them out when we feel like it right now.
Yeah, and this one has come from a Spotify request. So somebody answered on the Q&A that we have on all our Spotify episodes, and they asked us to rate SJM hottest scenes.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was that specific. I think it just said rate hottest scenes.
Yeah, hottest scenes.
But it was on our top SJM women or men.
Yeah.
So we kind of took that as meaning SJM, Sergio Maas. But we've just for today's purposes, we've narrowed it down to A Court of Thorns and Roses specific.
The five of them.
Yeah. Because if we were talking Sergio Maas universe, that's a lot of fucking sex scenes to talk about. So for the purposes of just we want to give you the content, we're just doing A Court of Thorns and Roses, and we've picked five. Top five.
Yeah, because we want to keep this as a mini-sode.
Yes.
We don't want it to be a full episode, so we've just both picked five each that we're going to talk about.
Yes. And we love doing episodes like these because we just fucking love talking about ACOTAR all the time.
And it's nice to know that we're doing something that somebody wants. Not that nobody wanted any of our other podcast episodes, but somebody specifically asked for this, so we're happy to deliver.
We are, because this is right up our fucking street.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's go straight in.
Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
You start, because I feel like my number 5 is going to be a fucking hot take.
Okay. My number 5 is from A Court of Silver Flames.
Oh, okay.
And it is chapter 22.
Okay.
So this is a few chapters after they're in the hallway. Nesta is rubbing Cassian's cock and he comes in his pants.
Yeah. This is their first sexual interaction.
Yeah, that's their first sexual interaction. So then chapter 22, he goes to her room.
Yes.
And gets his head between her legs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hot anyway.
Oh,
just him eating her out is amazing.
Yeah.
But then she reaches for his cock, and it says, Nesta reached for the cock she was dying to feel, to taste, but he backed off the bed. He picked up his shirt and said, "We're even now." And I just thought, you sexy, sexy man.
Yeah.
You have just rocked her world with your mouth. She wants more, and you've just walked away and said, "We're even, I'm off."
Chucked, as we say.
But that for me is just fucking amazing.
And what I was going to say is, so when I was doing research for this episode, I literally had to go on a Reddit thread of all the sex scenes in Silver Flames, because we fucking love that book.
Yeah.
It's absolute pure filth. And so a lot of our top 5, I'm guessing, are going to be Silver Flames. So I was just trying to find the chapters, so it was easy to go find them. And the person who'd said that chapter, the line prior to that chapter starting, so the last line of the previous chapter, is Cassian saying to Azriel, "Turn a blind eye,
turn a blind eye, brother," I think he says.
Oh, so funny.
So funny.
Or says chaperone. He says it's all in that sentence, and it's fucking hilarious, because I think they've just found out that Feyre's pregnant with a boy, and they're talking about would you like kids? And Azriel says, "Oh, it doesn't matter what I want anyway. I'm never going to get that," and it's really sad. And then he says to Cassian, "Do you want kids?" And Cassian's mind wanders to Nesta, and then he comes back to reality, and he's like, "What?" And he's like, "I'm asking if you want kids," and he's like, "Yeah, I do want kids." And then he's thinking about Nesta, and then he gets into his mind right, I'm gonna go fucking rock her world. I'm not having it, because he fucking comes in his pants.
Yeah, so one of the lines from previous in this chapter, Cassian rose up and stared at her. She couldn't move, couldn't remember how to move. No one had ever done that to her, made her feel like that. It had knocked the breath from her, the thoroughness of her pleasure, like the world could be remade in the force of what had erupted from her.
That's our Lord of Bloodshed.
How fucking fantastic is that?
Yeah, I reckon Cassian does rock your world 100%.
He rocks my world.
I reckon he's a better lover than Rhys.
Yeah, same.
I reckon.
He's bigger, he's burlier.
I just think he's better with his hands. Yeah, I just reckon he's better with his hands.
Skilled.
I love it. Do you want to know my number 5?
Oh, God, I'm scared.
You should be so controversial. I don't need to say the chapter because it's the only fucking that happens, but it's the first time Tamlin and Feyre bang.
Okay, this isn't in my list, but when I reread it earlier and he shreds her knickers with his claws, I was like...
So I almost wrote, because it isn't a fucking scene, but I was going to put it in because it's so tense and hot when he bites her after Callum, right? But hear me out, guys, right? This is why I think this scene. So, as I've mentioned many times before, but if you're new here, hello, this is the story. I was on an 8-year reading slump, didn't read for 8 years, had never read smut in my life. I didn't know when I was picking up ACOTAR that I was reading fantasy smut. I thought it was just a fantasy book. So to get that scene out of nowhere, I had no context. I had no idea it was coming. Obviously, when I say no idea it was coming, like someone was gonna fucking come. But I knew at that point, like I was kind of, the way the book was written, I was sort of maybe thinking, a bit of like they're gonna shag. But I'd never read sex in a book. Like and when I mean sex, I mean like sex.
Yeah.
So I was fucking blown off my feet by it. Like it rocked my world. I mean, and look what it's done. This is what it's done. But like
a bookshelf of smut.
Literally. But I never like read smut, and I was just like, oh my fucking God, that was amazing. And like you said, he rips her fucking knickers. I think he shreds her blouse in half as well.
But like he just only turns his hand into his animal form. He's not in his animal form.
I think it's just the claws. I don't even think it's just
he just pops his claws out and shreds it.
So as much as now, like we're now obviously devout ACOTAR fans, and like Court of Thorns and Roses is, well, for me, my least favourite book of the series, and like fuck Tamlin, but I fucking love that scene.
Agreed.
And it's my number 5. I'm sorry.
It's not in my top 5, but when I was doing my research for this and looking at all the different sex scenes from all the different books, I was like, oh, I do really love it when he shreds her knickers with his claws. It's so hot.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, if fucking Tamlin broke down my door and was like, come live with me in the Fey Realms, I'd fucking go with him.
Yeah.
Even though I know he's a red flag, I'd still go.
Yeah, same.
I'd suck his dick.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Sorry, for some reason I haven't written mine in order.
It's okay.
So where's my number 4? Okay. I don't have the specific quote. So my number 4 is from A Court of Wings and Ruin.
Ooh, okay.
It's chapter 14.
Okay.
And it's when Feyre gets back to the townhouse. Yes. And her and Rhysand haven't seen each other in a month. And she's like talking to Lucian and he's sort of like, where are we? And she's like, oh, this is Valaris, the city of starlight. And then Cassie and sorry, I'm getting confused. Lucian says, and you're the High Lady. And Rhysand's in the doorway and he says, yes, she is.
And he's leaning with his hands in his fucking pockets.
And when she hears his voice, she collapses to her knees. And he carries her up. He winnows her upstairs. He says to everyone, find somewhere else to be.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah. He winnows upstairs, runs her a bath. And she's climbing out of the bath, like, so that he can see her, like, naked, like the water running down her body.
Love it.
And she says, you're mine. And as she says it, all his clothes disappear.
I forgot.
That's how it's described.
That's fantastic.
He just like
bang,
like uses his magic and all his clothes are off. And like
it.
And then there's a banging scene. But like that for me is just like chef's kiss. Like they haven't seen each other for a month. It's all the like pent up anger, tension.
Yeah.
And like he's like, oh, Cassian already showed me what happened on the ice.
Yeah, because she gets like beaten the shit, like they rip her hair, like Eris, fucking beat the shit out of her.
So like he's really worried about it, but also like all he wants to do is bang her, and it's fantastic. I
remember that scene because that scene where she sees him in the foyer and like and when he said, oh, I love that scene. It makes me cry when I read it. I think it's such
when she drops to her knees.
Yeah, and he like kisses away the tears.
Yeah,
and he, like, I love that scene. But I forgot there was a banging scene after that.
Yeah, so he tells everyone to piss off. Basically, right. Winnows them upstairs, and then puts her in the bath, which I just think is so cute that he really wants her, but like he wants her to be okay first.
Yeah.
And like, he puts her in the bath and then she's like sexy talking to him, like trying to entice him.
I love it.
And as soon as she says, you're mine, all his clothes come off.
I love that. That's fucking amazing.
Fantastic.
My number 4 is, it's not really a sex scene, but it's hot as fuck, is the throne scene in the Court of Mist and Fury.
That is so fucking hot. When he says like, it's just your body reacting.
Oh, I bet it fucking is.
Yeah. My body's reacting to resent.
Yeah, your massive fucking cock underneath me. That's what it's reacting to. And like, so obviously when I read these books, like obviously that happening made sense to the plot. But you know, I say recently, a couple of months ago, did my first ever reread of ACOTAR.
Yeah.
And before that, I remember thinking, what was the actual like plot reason for that scene happening? And it's because they're trying to steal the
mirror of.
Is it the mirror or the ball?
Oh yeah, maybe something in
It's the ball, the Ouroboros.
Yeah.
And they know that Kia like won't let them have it. So they need something to distract Kia. And like, yeah, what better thing to do than like literally have somebody who was just about to marry High Lord of the Spring Court has known that she ran away in the night with Rhysand. And now she's like, because like really why is she, and he says, oh, she's here as my plaything.
Yeah,
because he sits on his fucking lap.
He's being knight triumphant, isn't he?
Yeah. And like, I just can't. And then when she describes that she can feel him, yeah, it's not even a sex scene, but it's so tense. It's so steamy. Hot. And the fan art of
oh my God, it's phenomenal.
I love it. It's so good. The tension in that book is phenomenal.
Amazing.
Your number 3.
My number 3.
I'm so interested to know if we've got any similarities.
Yeah, because we haven't.
Well, I've got no. So you mentioned ACOTAR. I got no ACOTAR in my
list.
list.
Okay. Okay. My number 3 is from A Court of Silver Flames.
Mm-hmm.
It is chapter 26.
Yeah, I think I have this.
This is when she sucks him off at the dining table.
So I'm going to mention it now because we're doing a quick episode. Just don't want to keep. This is my number 2.
Okay.
The blowy scene.
Yeah, so she sucks him off at the table and he's like unbuttoning her blouse. They're ready to bang.
Yeah.
And they haven't banged yet.
No.
And Asriel, like.
So this is so what chapter did you say? Sorry, the previous one about Nestor and Cassian when he goes into a room. What number was that? I can't remember now. Sorry.
22.
And this is chapter what?
26.
Yeah. So this is like this is her like paying him back for him going in her room.
Yeah. So she sucks him off at the dining table and then like he's unbuttoning her blouse. Like I'm sure it's from Cassian's point of view and he says like I'm gonna
fuck you on every.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck you on this dining table.
Yeah.
And then obviously like Asriel just strolls in and sits down to eat. And I've like obviously that is really hot when she's like sucking him off or whatever. But it's the dialogue afterwards that just gets me. So Az says, don't show all your hands at once, Cass. And Cass says, what's that supposed to mean? And Az nodded towards the doorway, save something for later. And Cass says, busybody. Az took a bite. You let her suck your cock in the middle of the dining room at a table I'm currently using to eat my dinner. I'd say that entitles me to an opinion.
It's so fucking funny.
And it's quite out of character for Asriel. Yeah. He doesn't usually have an opinion. He does, he usually keeps himself to himself.
He's not a busybody. He's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm sure when they talk about them hearing Asriel's footsteps, Cassian says he did that on he did that on purpose. Yeah. He made it because he could have. He's a shadow singer.
Yeah, he says like somebody who can make themselves not known.
He would have just appeared.
Yeah,
so funny that he says that Asriel's like trying to eat his breakfast and he can smell that she's just sucked his cock. But that scene is when I remember reading it and being like, there's no way this is going to be a blowy scene. There's no way, because I don't really remember. There must be scenes where Feyre sucks Rhys's dick, but it's like while they're having sex.
Yeah.
So it's not a dedicated. I was like, there's not going to be a dedicated breakfast blowy scene, and there fucking is.
Phenomenal.
And I love it. And when I was reading this again during research today to reread that chapter, because it's obviously my number 2, the reason why she does it is because the conversation prior is they've been to meet up with Eris, or he's been to meet up with Eris, and he's like, oh, I don't care if Eris thinks I'm a fucking bastard, brute, like, no. And then Nesta says like, I can see the hurt in his eyes, and she says like, because it switches, and Nesta says like, I can't keep seeing that hurt on his face. I need to do something to like bring him back to life, to distract him. And so she's like, do you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna suck his dick.
Phenomenal.
I fucking love Nesta and Cassian. I love how fucking horny they are. It's great.
That scene is brilliant.
I remember reading it and being like, I can't be experiencing this. This isn't going to be a blowy scene. There's no way, and it fucking is. I love it.
Amazing.
My number 2. That was my number 2. My number 3.
I was going to say, we're on 3.
My number 3 is chapter 48, A Court of Mist and Fury.
That's my number 2.
So, people love chapter 55, and I love chapter 55 from a emotional perspective.
Yeah,
Like when they
breaks my heart.
Yeah, when Reese is talking about like hearing Feyre's next step, and he's crying, and we're all fucking crying,
Yeah.
right? And then she says, "So eat," and when she says like, "Every part of me is broken, but it's yours." Oh,
Yeah.
it's just fucking sobs.
Beautiful.
But the actual banging in chapter 55, we've mentioned this before, is disappointing.
Yeah.
Because when you've just had so much tension and sizzle,
Yeah.
and it's a very just mundane bang.
Yeah.
But chapter
48,
which is the
one bed
fucking trope,
and it's freezing cold.
It's just it's so like cookie cutter to the trope. Do you know what I mean? It's so like, ugh, but I fucking love it. Like, and then when she touches his wing, and then when she's like, it's just a distraction, and she says she can feel him tense because he's fucking heartbroken because he's in love with her. Obviously, at this point, she doesn't know that they're mates. But I remember reading it like that scene's so steamy. Way steamier.
I've got a quote.
Oh, go on.
So I think she says like, "Tell me," they're doing like a truth for truth. And I'm thinking, he said, following the flick of my tongue over my bottom lip, that I look at you and feel like I'm dying, like I can't breathe. I'm thinking that I want you so badly I can't concentrate half the time I'm around you, and this room is too small for me to properly bed you, especially with the wings. He loves her.
Like, I know we talk about this book all the time, right? We do. And I think a lot of the time, right, I think it can't be that good. I think to myself on certain days, like, it isn't that good. I think it's just me. And then when when you read fucking quotes like that, I'm like, no, this book is actually the most perfect book I've ever read in my life. And that's for a banging scene. You're getting lines like that for him to finger bang at 2 seconds later. This is what I fucking love about Sarah J. Maas. It's the most like phenomenally written, like heart-wrenching romance that I've ever read, but then also steamy as fuck.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh my god, I love that book.
That quote from him is just beautiful.
It literally is. So number 1.
I'm guessing we've got the same.
Oh, I don't know. I'm nervous. Go on, you say first.
ACOTAR Silver Flames.
Yes.
Chapter 41.
No! Go on.
How can you not have chapter 41?
I have chapter 37, A Court of Silver Flames.
Wow.
What's chapter... You go first. What's your chapter?
Chapter 4... I can't believe you haven't got this in your top 5. Chapter 41 is Put Your Hands on the Headboard.
Yes, not... No.
Oh, okay.
Go on. You go first.
Okay, cool. So the build up to that, first of all, I love. So the build up to this, before that part,
yes,
they're with Hellion and Feyre and Reese.
Okay.
And Cassian's mind has wandered to Nesta, and Hellion can like smell like
arousal.
Yeah. So he says to Cassian, "What are you thinking about?" Cassian, he hadn't realised his thoughts had dragged such a scent from him. He grinned. "Your mother." Hellion chuckled. "I always forget how much I like you. Happy to remind you," Cassian winked. Ah. And then, right, this is the reason I love this chapter. Also, for Put Your Hands on the Headboard. But after the chapter 37 where they bang, obviously Cassian like gets up and leaves.
Yes, he does.
So I love this vulnerability from Nesta. So he's trying to leave. He took her food and she's in the bath.
Yes.
And like he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Yeah,
like, and he's trying to leave. And she said before he reached the archway, "Was it not good for you?" Cassian turned slowly. "What?" A flush stained her cheeks as she lifted her chin. "Was the sex not good for you?" He swallowed. "Why would you ask that?" Nesta's throat bobbed. She was, fuck, was she really that unsure of him? "You left quickly and didn't seek me out again."
Yeah.
Like how like vulnerable she is with him. I love that part of the scene.
Yeah.
But then also I gotta read you this. She huffed a wicked laugh. "Do you want to watch me come or do you want to taste it?" Taste. He'd beg on hot coals for one lick of her. She spread her legs wider. "Then have at me, Cassian."
Yeah, so when I was doing my research, right, I obviously, my head went to that scene because that quote is one of my favourites, "Put your hands on the headboard." But then when I reread the scenes, right, that scene ends, doesn't it? So he says, "Put your hands on the headboard," but then it pretty much finishes.
So the end of the chapter is, he growled, "Put your hands on the headboard." Her breath began sawing out of her again, but she obeyed, already thrumming with need. Cassian rose behind her, gripping her hips. He knocked a knee against each of her own, spreading her legs wider. Calloused fingertips brushed down the length of her spine, over the tattoo there, the ink binding them. He leaned to whisper in her ear, "Hold on tight."
Yeah. I agree. So
I just love her spreading her legs and saying, "Have at me, Cassian."
yeah, they are filth, and I fucking love it. And it's why, like, it's my second favorite book in the series. That was gonna pick that scene, and that was what my brain went to immediately when I thought about this series. However, I love that quote, but I don't find the scene that steamy. My number one is chapter 37, of course, Silver Flames.
Yeah.
And it's when they bang for the first time in Hume City, right? I went back and I read both of them side by side. The scene where they bang for the first time in Hume City. He does run off after it, which isn't great because after the one you just talked about, they kind of fight well. I think there's one more scene. There's another scene where like he puts her over the desk after training. They like train, and then he like she says like she barely gets her trousers off, and he's bent her over. But pretty much after that, they're like they kind of know their mates, don't they? Yeah. Let me get some quotes from my chapter for you because it's your filth. Did you fully read the chapter I was on about?
Yeah.
And you didn't think that was the highest one?
I think her spreading her legs and saying, "Have at me, Cassian," is just like, because before that, she's touching herself and making him watch.
She does.
And she says, "You're not allowed to touch me and you're not allowed to touch yourself." So he's just sat there on his knees in between her legs watching. Yeah. And I just think that's so fucking filthy and I love it.
This is the reason why I love chapter 37, because listen to this quote. So she's just got out of the bath. He's come in to bring her dinner. He shits himself because she's in the bath. She's like, "Do you know what? Fuck it." She's nearly died from the fucking kelpie thing.
She's covered in cuts and stuff. And
she gets out of the bath. She's like, "I'm just gonna fucking, I don't care." Walks up to him, has that conversation. So then he's kind of just started like groping her. They're gonna bang. Her wetness. So he's just swiped his two fingers through her fucking fanny. Her wetness gleamed on his two fingers, and his eyes glittered with a predatory intent as he lifted them to his mouth and licked them one by one. The silence is deafening.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's the bit. And then I sent you a quote earlier that was like, "Love doing research for our podcast," and it was literally a quote, "His cock was enormous." What I love about chapter 37 is her talking about how big he is.
Yeah, true.
I didn't realize how blatant she was about how big he was. Oh, she literally just says like, "That isn't going to fit in me."
Amazing. Interesting that we didn't have many the same. Only two the same.
I knew that we'd both be fair over Silver Flames, so we fucking love it.
I'm not surprised that Silver Flames was number one for both of us.
I do really like. If I had to say my favorite quotes, like I really love "Put your hands on the headboard."
Yeah.
But if we're just talking pure sexy scenes, but I do agree that scene is filth. It's like picking. I could pick so many from Silver Flames. Like I said, that scene where he bends her over the table.
Just like her having the balls to say, "Do you want to watch me come or do you want to taste it?"
They're so filthy.
They are.
I forgot how horny. Like,
I might have to do a reread. We might have to put everything else on hold
and just reread Silver Flames. When I was doing my research, I was on that Reddit thread that I was talking about. There was reference in all the sex scenes, and a lot of the Reddit comments were saying how much they dislike Silver Flames because it's too horny and there's too much sex. And do you know what I gotta fucking say to that, right? It's like going to fucking Disneyland and saying there's too much fucking Mickey Mouse here.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of mice.
Like, it's ACOTAR.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand if sex isn't your thing in books. If you don't enjoy
don't
smut,
read it then.
But that's what I mean. Like, ACOTAR is
smut.
Fantasy smut. Like, that's what we're here for. Like, so I feel like it's a bit like, oh, it's too much smut. It's a fucking smut series.
Yeah.
Like, stop moaning about Mickey Mouse being in fucking Disneyland.
Yeah.
Because like, and I love that Nesta and Cassian are horny.
Yeah, same.
It's character development.
Absolutely.
So that was our top 5 horniest. Well, not horniest. That was our top 5
sexy.
Sorry,
from ACOTAR.
Yes.
So we hope that was what you were looking for. Whoever the person is who put that Q&A in. Hopefully that's what you wanted.
If you enjoyed this and want us to do more quickies like this, we'll do them.
Yeah.
we can do whatever. We could do a Crescent City. We could do a Throne of Glass. We could do a From Blood and Ash, because that's what we've just been talking about.
We could do Plated Prisoner.
Yeah.
There's plenty of smut in there.
We can keep talking about smut. We have
the
thought
King
about...
of Bat and Blood.
Oh God, yeah.
The smut scenes in that.
There is. We've spoken about this before, but maybe it could be another mini-sode, where we do like our who's got the biggest, like we rate the biggest wingspans from the SJM men.
Yes.
Because there's a few more men with wings that we could put in that.
If you want to see more mini-sodes, just let us know what needs to be in them.
And we'll do it.
We will. Thanks so much for listening.
Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at A Pod of Smut and Wingspan.
See you next week.
Bye.